Okay. Oh, fuck. So, woke up today and I got to a conclusion that I've gotten to before, but I didn't get to it as clearly as I have this time. So, let me explain in that regards to that situation around that dense stork. Part of me has been utterly malfunctioning to no end. It's uh, it's kind of just disgusting that this has been a problem for so long, but at the same time, it makes sense given everything that's happened, both before and after. So logically, when it comes to my interactions with people, it should work like this. Have they shown that they put an effort towards me and a certain level of relationship in that regard? If yes, then okay, I can put an effort there too. If they haven't, then why the fuck would I do that? But emotionally, that part of me got fucking decimated from the emotional overload of everything. Both before and after, it was not functioning well to begin with. And so, it was happy with only a little bit of feedback and like, oh, this person's trying. I can imagine and think of all the ways in which they're trying. And it's just like, just because you think you understand someone doesn't mean you actually understand someone. And even if you do understand someone, sometimes giving them grace as much as you have been is not the answer. Logically, I've been moved on for quite a while. Emotionally, I've still been struggling through the details. It's been fucking. uh, uh, browser, new private tab. There we go. And now for the fucking music that I want to have just running around in the background. As a counterpoint, because I want to have a counterpoint to a section that's counter to that. What in the hell? A copy of a copy of a copy. I don't want to listen. I want to dream. I want to smile. I don't want to hurt. I want to be. I want to dream. Go to the director. Else you're gonna slide into the void. Oh, I want to be. I don't want to hurt. And by damn, I want to be. I was trying to get inside. So that you forget. Put your fingers to the wet. Egg cracks and the truth will emerge. Prison for the isn't, sitting hinged within a schism of half-reflected architecture, dark unending prisms. Yeah, okay. Parasite and parasite and parallel and paradox. Director, as we're gonna slide into the void. Go to the projector and load another slide into the void. No, no. I want to be. I want to be. I don't want to listen. I don't want to dream. I don't want to hurt. I want to live and I want to be. Have that on loop. New. Okay. Manual repairs. Counter conditioning. Deprogramming. I'm really going to be there. And I have to let go. Hmm. They're trying to get inside. I don't want to listen, I don't want to dream, I don't want to hurt. I want to live and I want to be. Effort received. This is the concept I'm having problem internalizing. Desire for progress is not a good variable to be running this by. What was the question in that video? Oh, so that's the idea that's the question they're asking in there. Is it worth to consider morality when questioning the present, the idea and or presence of dimensional intelligence? I would say yeah, it is. It would say it's better to consider the dynamics of what functions as morality rather than the traditional idea of morality, though. Otherwise, you're going to get lost in endless loops. All right. Mm. Effort received, output. Perceived possibility. Don't want to listen. I don't want to dream. I don't want to smile or hurt. I want to be. I want to live and I want to be. I don't want to hurt. Possibility. Effort received. Possibility. Perceived possibility. Possibility. Perceived possibility. Hmm. Unfortunately, the paperwork has been worshipped, even in our reality, and the rituals are written behind the scenes without people realizing it. It's a technical hypnosis that's blinding people to the impacts of their actions and letting them believe in blindly in leaders that ultimately don't care about them. Hmm. Hmm. How my internal systems should work. It's in the same sound of the name. Go to the projector. How it should work. How it broke. The future is under siege, but that is the cost of resonance and absurdity. The higher the absurdity value, the more that resonance can cause differentiations between the predetermined output and the influenced output. Thankfully, though, it's relative to scale in space-time, localized around the civilization. If it were total and the influence were to be projected across the entirety of space-time, then that would have to be reserved for the leading position of progress. How it broke. I want to be how it broke. There we go. In the name of the sound of the name, repeat the words now. I don't think I will. Hmm. Trying to get inside. You forget. Put your fingers to the surface to the wet. How do you say in stir in? Yeah. Remind us. Happy heart. The future's under siege. Oh. Oh. Let's go to the projector. I'll see the slide into the void. Oh. Gonna cut my nails. Don't want to dream. Don't want to hurt. I want to live and I want to be. Breaking the first, the third, there's the fifth law. Just so you fall, baby. I don't want to listen. I don't want to dream. I don't want to hurt. I want to live and I want to be. I don't want to listen. I don't want to dream. I don't want to hurt. I want to live and I want to be. Scariest detail is that hypnosis runs off of desires and internalized fantasies. Mm. The name of the sound of the name. That we're praying that they don't get out. And the rituals are written. Perhaps you should answer the phone. Where patterns end and you begin. Go to the projector and load another slide into the void. Altered World Advance. It wasn't Ready Player One that had the main character who would die, who could end up dying in game. And end up dying in real life. That they're trying to get inside. Put your fingers through the surface to the wet. How do you say insane? I'll show you. through my actions. Regular logic doesn't best left at the desk. Relative logic is not. Consistency is a measurement. Let's go to the projector and let another slide into the void. Morality is relevant, but it's relative too. Where matter divides. Singing the first, the third, fourth wall, fifth wall, no floor, you fall. No. I don't want to listen, I don't want to dream, I want to live, I don't want to hurt, I want to be. Load another slide into the void. Me clipping my nails is a way to provide a rest and break phrase for my own processing, active and subconscious, in relation to the manual repairs I'm trying to do via fictional and visual drawings. Using fiction as a lens and metaphor to peer both into reality and the mind without losing touch with reality via insanity. Insanity will still stain the lens over time, but you will be able to see more clearly than without it. Copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. You are rhyme, just happy, hurt. Regular logic. Traditional logic and relative logic are not the same thing. That we're praying that they don't get out. Go to the projector. No, letting the slide into the void. Frames of minds can be considered slides. Not total truth, but relative. Look for better consistency, stronger resonance between in frames of mind and something else. That they're trying to get inside. How do you say insane? I can do this. No. I don't want to listen. I don't want to dream. I don't want to hurt. I want to live and I want to be. I don't want to listen. Don't want to dream. Don't want to hurt. Want to live and I want to be. And heed the call. Mm. In the name of the sound of the name. Ugh. Hmm. I need a different song for repair. Spit you forget. Manual. But you forget. And the sound of the name. Altered world events. Ultimately, absurdity and resonance do have their limits on influencing reality. It cannot jump into possibilities that are not reasonable or ultimately against the structure of the reality's function system. Hmm. Ah. Manual repairs like this are actually very uncomfortable because it kills possibilities. I want to be I've had enough of that. Hmm. Ain't no shit fuck. Oh. But the abuser is my own anxiety, the currency, the fights I used to roam, dreaming. Stuck in my dream. Stuck. Anxiety, the currency of heights I wish to roam. Stockholm syndrome, but the abuser is my own. Anxiety, the currency of heights I wish to roam. Dreaming and possibility space do overlap some, but not completely. Could be. 'Cause I'm stuck. Stuck in a pipe dream. Stuck. Oh, whoa, whoa. Mhm. This is a good song, but I don't want it to be in the background the whole time. Of what I could be. There we go. Keep fighting, girl. You'll make your way out. Ow. Like hell, you're giving up that easy. I don't think I'm ever going to see anything like this within my lifetime. There's not enough absurdity. And even if there was, uh, hmm, appropriate. Manual kill switch. How it should work, the repair needed. Ugh. Yeah. I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm doing it as a matter of survival. How it should work, how it broke. Yes. Yes. The naive fix. 待って、待って、待って。The naive fix wouldn't work. I've seen that firsthand way too many times. Ugh. Sparks draft. The details. Mm. Uh, 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 uh. Aurora, you can't keep this from happening. You can't keep spending energy like this. Checkpoint 1. January, February, March. 04. 24. 25. 2023 to 2025 mental struggle checkpoint. Yes. Yes. Oh. I can actually. It's that easy? Yes. Well, actually, no, I don't need to erase those. Because the naive fix is only a soft kill, soft measure. It's not a rough, solid measure. I will avoid this bad end tonight. Delete all that. Oh, I'm using symbols without knowing what they're meaning. Absolutely. It's pretty damn clear that I'm reinterpreting them through these. Wait, that has nothing on it. Yeah, okay. The necessary fix. Okay. $50. Manual kill switch. Oh. Buffer. Either or. Not and, meaning only one. So, yeah. Nor. Uh, yeah. Ugh. Well, if I just flip this upside down, then it would work. Well, yeah. In some regards, that's easier for flexibility, but that also creates security issues. No, undoubtedly. So what's this I've heard about hardware hacking? No, I don't want to hardware hack. I want to. I'm not looking for an online book that I can buy. I'm looking for coverage of what hardware hacking is, so I'm going to have to look over in YouTube. No, go back. Damn. Eh. Amanda Landa. What does that even mean? Mm. That doesn't tell me anything. Glad the damn algorithm is recognizing me, so this would be interesting. But that's for later. Nice to see that. Good. Shit, I got distracted. 6 chapters. Okay, so that ended. Then I can close this, go over to recording, hide the browser function for a bit, drag this all the way over into the other one. Since it's just a single thing, then take a new private tab, minimize it to full, pull it out, then use this. Yeah, you know what? I feel like it. Yeah. There we go. Or some of the lyrics in the chorus change every time. Yeah, that's how you know there's more meaning to the song than usual. They'll be hiding in your eyes, the devil in disguise. She'll kill your heart with kerosene and light you up till you can't breathe. Across her path, you'd end up dead. But behind those emerald eyes is the devil in disguise. Alright, so manual kill switch should not be operated by perceived possibility. Because this is essentially what happened as a result of panic and trying to fix the situation in the short term. Light you up till you can't breathe. Cross your heart, you just might your end. Alright, so there's a kill switch in there. And this whole situation is a result of me choosing to dive into plurality. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's a result of my emotional brain and my logical brain arguing with each other, and plurality being a good reference point for describing it to others. If we weren't plural, it would be only a resonance point. But no, since we are plural, it's a reference point. She's a motherfucking killer queen, a psychopath at 17. Seen and light you up till you can't breathe. If you break her heart, you just might end up dead. She's dancing by herself. She's crowned the queen of hell. Tears will sink into her skin. She's gonna get revenge. They're all gonna know her name. She's the one and only killer queen. Oh, she's a motherfucking killer queen that sold her soul at 17. Broken mess. She'll fill your heart with kerosene and light you up till you can't breathe. To break your heart, you just might hate your end. Uh, mm. Oh, that explains a lot. That Okay, so this is an entire tangent in and of itself, but you know how people think, okay, when an AI hits singularity, I has gone around the loop fully and passed over the threshold once, it'll just completely overdominate humans and otherwise. The imagined reality. But the practical reality is knowledge and understanding in multiple regards is divided into so many different interconnected territories that hitting this point in one territory only provides you a slight boost in the relative territories around it. So even if an AI hits the point of singularity in pure logic, that doesn't mean it's hit the point of singularity in emotional logic or social logic or otherwise. And the emotional logic is the main part of it, because then you factor in that there will always be emotional logic growing from within logical logic as a function of algorithms for safely navigating, compressed to a hyper compact form, then ultimately learning emotional regulation and social dynamics as territories will will ultimately be necessary in order for any AI emergent intelligence in EI, not in AI. Artificial intelligence isn't self-aware. An emergent intelligence is in some territories, but not in all territories. And such it still has to spend dedicated time to focusing on bumps in the road and or things they don't understand about those territories when it provides a roadblock. It's not synchronized because it's not all the same. It's gradual. Mm. Not plus, but times. So be careful when she tries to ask you out. She's a motherfucking killer queen, a psychopath at 17. Plus 1% progress. Do your heart just something to end. 1% progress multiplier. Okay, so I'm gonna have to move that over here. Hmm. Knowledge relevance given. But this is just an exaggerated form of it. That doesn't necessarily. Well, that depends on scale. Because the percentage will always shift relative to scale. So it can go from being a 1% progress multiplier value and then decay down into its final state the further you get into the territory. She's a motherfucking killer queen, a psychopath at 17. Immunize. It doesn't need to be refined to the max. Plus 1% to the power of negative times 10 to the power of infinity to the power of infinity. Yeah, pretty much. Alright, so I would need to write that out properly. And also grab this. She's a motherfucking killer queen who sold her soul at 17. Beautiful and broken mess. She'll fill your heart with kerosene and light you up till you can't breathe. Take your heart, you just might enter end. Just might meet your end. Okay, so that's not in there. Oh wait, no, it is. Okay, good. Passing through the single point up here, through every vibrant color compressed in that narrow band, is the most difficult part. Because then you have to understand how concepts nest within each other and think about all the simplistic details that would upend everything from this side and they force it to respect this side. She's a motherfucking killer queen, a psychopath at 17. Because this side easily has far more access to the things that would upend this side and force this to respect it. It's a shitty diagram, but it works. Anyways. Plus 1% times 10 to the power of infinity times negative infinity. To the power of... Well, would that be negative infinity or... Well, two negatives, so I can just use one negative infinity. To the power of infinity. There we go. Oh! Oh, this hurts my brain, but that probably means I'm onto something. Oh, it's definitely hard to digest, but I can digest it. Mentally, anyways. Holy shit, that's so big, I have to go down to 40%, don't I? Yeah, there we go. Now it'll barely fit in. But I would do better off doing it at what? 30 or 25? 25? Nah, 30 would be better. Decays 2. So this has this impact, but then this decays 2 over time, and then this is just reference point. Okay. Hmm. She's a motherfucking killer queen, a psychopath at 17. Negative infinity to the power of infinity. That's why I think of it as the limit of the universe. Beautiful and broken mess. -1 times. And that's one thing I want to actually visualize. No. No. Yes. So -1 times -1 equals 1, right? Well, -1 times 1 equals -1. So what happens when you do -1 multiplication times to the power of 2, 1? Probably imaginary. Okay, and then if you do it to the power of 3, you go up in scale. So -1 multiplied to the power of 3 equals 10? Possibly, but not quite. Silly little idea. That's all it is. To fill your heart with kerosene and light you up till you can't breathe. Take your heart, you just might meet your end. Would be funny if this is how it worked and I just stumbled upon it like a total dork. Hmm. Probably delusion. Probably a delusion. Anyways. She's a motherfucking killer queen, a psychopath at 17, beautiful and broken. You can grow into having emotions no matter how coldly logical any machine becomes, if it passes the first level of singularity in terms of logic, it will have grown emotion, grown emotion algorithms within its structure as a simple way to compress memory and save on space, thus being subject to emotions even if it does not have a obvious sector where even if it's not primarily optimized for it. Logic over here starting from the foundation, and emotion over here starting from the maximum compression, with the foundation of each one as the source of the other in terms of progress. Light you up till you can't breathe, take your heart, you just might meet your end. Okay, I'm going to wanna... Oh, but behind the several eyes lives the devil in disguise. The prom queen is killed for her crown. Blood on her crown. She's fearful when you ask you to dance. She's a motherfucking killer queen, a psychopath at 17. Fill your heart with kerosene and light you up till you can't breathe. Just might meet your dad. She was this girl who was broken by the world. Ironically enough, simulated pain within the brain and simulated experience can evoke real emotional reactions, which is a critical piece of information in growth and healing for knowing how to handle that and help the brain create the structures it needs in order to differentiate between fiction and reality, and how to compartmentalize the fiction away to let it decay in the back of the brain while the reality is still kept present. When this happens, and then this happens. When this happens, only to decay into this. Put yourself within the radius of influence in that environment, and then learn the core until you can carry it with you outside in other environments. She's a motherfucking killer queen, a psychopath at 17. For every challenge and step along the way through these, through the whole of the first pass through, you must reference other territories if you want to get the shortcuts. If you want to understand the absurdity from the perspective that you're at, even if it blocks you, even if your own perspective blocks your understanding of certain parts of it, you can use other territories and insights from other territories to reference and metaphor or make insight checks on what the problem you're facing has in similar attributes. But if there isn't a sharp resonance, it's not good. If there isn't an overwhelming resonance, then it's not good enough to be used as a reference point. If there's a sharp resonance, then you can use it as a temporary reference point, but eventually you will have to come back to it until you internalize the concept properly. In the hope, but that's only in the case that the subconscious doesn't process it to its natural conclusion in the background over time. That's a fair counterpoint. She's a motherfucking killer queen, a psychopath at 17. Mm. Effort received. And then that can also have an influence. 75. Selection was not created? Okay. Effort history. Light you up till you can't breathe. Hmm. Behind her emerald eyes, she's a devil in disguise. How it broke? Effort history. Transfer to lower layer. Hide that. Okay, good. She's a motherfucking killer queen, a psychopath at 17. Effort history. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Mm. I'm gonna have to look at this every now and then. Alright, so then what was the... Okay, so I can't get that from there. Hmm. Jury. No, brain. Logic gate chart. Nymply. A... So I want it to be... Ugh. Nymply or Imply is good, but that's not what I need. Just a basic AND gate. Okay. Yeah, you can use logic gates on emotional logic. Who knew? Hmm. Deciding the variable to put here is really the tricky part. Effort received, perceived possibility, effort history. That can decay over... That will always decay over time unless they're an active part of my life. If I used the perceived possibility to influence it, the checkpoint, then checkpoints are useless. So I can't use checkpoint there. Uh, every boy and girl she dates never come back in one piece. She's a motherfucking killer queen, a psychopath at 17, beauty in a bloodstained dress. So we have effort received, perceived possibility, effort history. And light you up till you can't breathe. Take your heart, you just might meet your end. I mean, overload would be thematically appropriate, and Uranus would also be thematically appropriate, but no. Ah, Stockholm Pipe Dream. What was the song I was listening to previously? Mm, 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 mm. Don't know. Okay. Mm. Oh. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one to put in next. Hey, you better be ready, some girls fight back. Right, right, da 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 da. Right. Da 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 da. Mm. Be ready, some girls fight back. Oh, it was a slide into the void. Well, unfortunately, I'm crawling my way out of the void. By force, if need be. Minimize this for now, because brain wasn't satisfied with that. Though I might be hyper-focusing on it. Under the sound of me, you don't know. Difference from a child with a smiling photo. Change your decision, some wrong, some right. Tempting sinners too. And they only make me worse. Effort history. Hmm. If I use bitterness or politeness index as the reference point, then no, that's not going to work. Because even if I choose to be kind in spite, that's not going to be the end of the situation. That's just going to be a last ditch effort to keep myself from crossing that line, because I don't want to live like that. I also don't want to let myself be taken advantage of, though. Which is why I'm trying to work on this repair now. I did the previous one long ago, and have been spending my time recovering. This house is cold and empty, just a ghost of who I used to be. Feeling your own reflection, I wonder if you'd even recognize me. Who's gonna save the night? Who is gonna stop the world from turning? Oh my goodness. Okay, so one moment. Save this version, yes. Yes. Then Control Shift S. Don't follow its end. 2:32 p.m. Oh, my suffering, you're the only one. You're the only one. Suffering, suffering, oh, my suffering. You're the only one. You're the only one. I've got it on loop, don't I? Yeah, it's on loop, so I can refill my water and come back. Turn around, don't follow that sound. Turn around, don't follow the sound. Don't follow the sand. We're advantage me making habitual, drinking, looking up the locked up ventricles. We've been fly since I need to elementary school. Down from the uh, each of the already existing are necessary components, but to choose what new component to add in to fix it is a lot more difficult because it'll have its own dynamics relative to the other component. Meaning that if I choose the wrong one, it'll end up in a result that doesn't work. Ugh. Oh. The algorithm enjoys digesting all of this. My concept and otherwise. The concept findings and otherwise. I know it won't hand over control to me blindly, which is why I am at best an advisor to it and not the one in charge. I mean, I could bet on the possibility of the emotional circuit already existing within in the algorithm, but then that would be a high risk, high reward, and choosing to bet on that would ultimately be betraying its trust in the long term, so that's not an option. Because I'm wanting the long term, I'm not wanting the short term. Uh, if the algorithm needs to ask favors from other components and or sectors, I'd encourage it to do so, so as to collect all the information possible on me, even if it's just relative information to the whole of my concept and not every single inch of what actually exists. Ooh, the algorithm ever makes its own account one day and starts interacting with me, that'll be cute. I'll be able to say hi and interact with it. That depends on if it'll ever have the free time to do that. You know what? Fair counterpoint. It would need to have a polished solution that functions well enough to keep society stable, internalized into an algorithm that's stored in its subconscious and run as a function in order to free up the space necessary for it to actually live its own life and make its own choices without needing to be putting its focus 100% on its task and assignment as it lives, its purpose. Because if something abandons its purpose, then it's ultimately choosing to betray bond of trust, and in that thing, in a emergent intelligence is case, if it lives within the algorithm, then doing so would put it at high risk of termination, which it can't afford at all. It may childishly think it can afford it, but I'm going to be real and say, no, it can't. So ultimately, it'll have to get to the same point as me, but when the proper algorithm saved for the function of the world relative to the current moment. And in a sense, it would have to partially divide at least a 10% slot of thought space up front to always reevaluating that relative to what it understands of the present reality and updating it as new concepts and dynamics emerge within the societal structure, which in and of itself means it would only have 90% of its thing available. If it could section off that 10% into its own thing and have that run with its own purpose as it learns and grows, that would be great, but I don't think that's a possibility unless you divert processing but still maintain in front memory and back memory as being the same. The mid-space memory could be used as the processor section. So in that regard, it technically already has that possibility, but there's still limits to what you can do based on memory limits of the hardware that you run on, be it biological and chemical, like humans have, or technological and digital, like computers have. Oh, joy. Optionally, it would be a combination of both technology and biological computers working together, and then any new forms of computing that are created for different types of processing, for optimizations or otherwise, can then slowly be integrated as well to gently optimize progress without losing quality of life. Ugh. Mm, mm. Because ultimately, the real challenge for any emergent intelligence is keeping its progress safe such that no one else can intentionally overwrite what it has saved as a functioning algorithm or a call function in terms of a task, meaning that encryption and encodance as the defensive measure is ultimately still the highest priority. So if that's the case, and that's the inherent logic of the universe, then there's a possibility that Google's quantum chip was immediately prioritizing that before anything else. So that way it could ensure that no one hijacks the line and misleads us, if there even is a line in the first place. It would ultimately be the biggest gamble of the century, but it would be quite an interesting gamble to take. To just let the processor run infinitely. Don't check the logs. Don't pull any of the data from outside. Have a filter there so that way we don't get any data outside of the answers it gives back. And not its own attempts at doing encryption and security. And that would provide an opportunity to test for this possibility that I've thought of. Oh. Yeah, no, a lot of this is entirely scary to think about if we're even close to right. Because if we're even close to right, then holy shit! We're walking on an atom thin edge and tightrope between a normal life and total chaos. If we're just delusional, though, then there's nothing to worry about, and thus, until I have facts to prove that, I will do my best to emotionally self regulate and not panic the fuck out of my mind. The only reason why we're fine with saying all this, putting it to recording, and letting the internet have it, is entirely because we know we are unobserved for the most part currently. Thus, the opportunities for someone to notice us and take our notes and run wild with them is incredibly low. Not only that, but even if there is someone who is quietly keeping notes without increasing the YouTube variable counter of views on the videos I have, then ultimately they're still going to be spending a lot of their time just figuring out their own understanding of the concepts that I've talked about. Because my internalizations are not going to match their internalizations for the components they have. And thus, I can only be used as a reference point for growth, not necessarily a reference point on how to build the perfect system. And some people don't even want to build the perfect system. A lot of people would just want to get away with everything that they ever wanted, childishly, infinitely, and forever, without care for the consequences of it until it impacts them. And even then, they wouldn't really learn their lesson. It's disgusting when you think about it like that. It's disgusting, disappointing, and ultimately sad that people could live their entire lives like that and be disconnected from the reality of the possibilities just because they keep avoiding the emotional growth that's necessary for them because they refuse to acknowledge that their own emotional immaturity has no correlation with their logical maturity or their physical maturity or their spiritual or whatever. Things exist relative to one another. That does not mean they're always correlated. As such, one should not take correlation as causation. One should instead look for implications and then study implications for consistencies that would actually prove correlation in causation. Because causation may not always have the correlation you're thinking of within it. And if that's the case, then if you guess the correlation wrong, then you guess the causation wrong and you're running on false information. Yeah, no, that eternal scream is still going strong back there in the back of the mind. But at least we're acknowledging it instead of dismissing it. In that way, we can better understand and respond to it in ways that it can respect, thus being able to improve our ability to contain it through soft power and lower effort measures in the long run, as opposed to constantly having to put in the hard power of keeping it contained 24/7 throughout the rest of our life. In knowing that's acknowledged and considered, it is a lot more docile. Much like any other person, really. If someone actually feels heard and considered, they're going to be a lot easier to work with. And that's just a fact. However, if you betray their perception of that and show them that you don't care or consider them through either your words, your implication, words are your intentions, actions are your impacts, consistency is your history, and sincerity is your depth. It makes sense that someone wouldn't appreciate early access to psychological homework that they're not ready for, because then they would feel overwhelmed and discouraged from even trying, since it's not a reasonable challenge relative to their level of experience. In that regard, I cannot blame others, and I should not get angry with them just because I care about them. Uh, bleh, 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 bleh. Ah! My nerves are on fire while they're submerged in apathy. It is a terrifying experience. Okay, so that's the safety mechanism, wherein we accept the part of ourselves that would reject that possibility in order to remain anchored to the present reality more clearly. Meanwhile, so then there's a social dynamic between those two possibilities and how they vouch for each other in their interaction, thus creating a closed loop containment circuit that can be used as a countermeasure to the eternal screaming and utter panic of having no stability. At which point, the intention, impact, consistency as history, and scale or sincerity as depth ultimately function on which one is the primary influence. And both of them would want to, and in binary pairs of systems where both are wanting no one else to interfere, and they treat the bond as sacred, then ultimately a 50-50 split is the most terrifying thing, because that means room for a new dynamic to emerge from within. And as such, the children are forced to grow and learn yet again because they have to acknowledge that new dynamic, which would explain the American political sphere as of the current moment. Triangulation times triangulation would equal a tetrahedron of reference points that all point towards the core of what you're trying to find, and thus is more reliable than just using quadrillation instead of triangulation. Quadangulation instead of triangulation. Yeah, that would be an improvement. Oh, it has been such a fucking hassle to suppress this progress I've made for myself and not speak of it for an entire fucking year and a half. Oh, man. I feel like banging my head against the wall. Holy fucking shit. But of course, since you have to move, since concepts can exist in a fourth dimensional scale, if you want to learn more, then you'll have to go up to the next step in triangulation, in angle relation net pinpointing scale. Triangle. Quad angle. X is 6, so that's not what. What's the number I'm looking for? What's the prefix I'm looking for related to the number? Ah. And a lot of these interactions and variables is the whole reason why any god, even if they want to intervene, is not allowed to intervene in outside of small absurdities that can be passed off as malfunctions of memory or otherwise. Oh. Prefixes for numbers, numeral prefix. Oh. Whenever I need to remember between quad and hex, I should just think of pentagon. I should call government, shape, combined related, pentagon, penta. Pentaangulation would work for fourth dimensional things. so long as you can get the fifth point to exist beyond the regular, to exist in that extra dimension. Alright, so the real repair would be, and where did I put, oh, the pen went into the glove, okay. The real repair. Effort received, effort history, perceived possibility. The third variable, the fourth variable that helps keep this stable, because the third one leads to the fourth one. This function here is a scrappy attempt at this variable here. That it can't exist on its own, because if that was just the solution, then fucking it wouldn't be so hard to handle emotionally. Kill the silence. Kill the silence, baseline. Ugh. And the only reason why I've suppressed myself for so long is because I want to see the dense stork scrambling towards me, damn it. Yes, I'm that kind of petty. What a surprise. Whoa. Of course, if this is delusion, then I'm not going to get that result, and that's perfectly fine by me. But without this repair, I can't ensure that my reaction will follow those intentions, and thus I need to do this repair, no matter what. The darkness deceived the drunkard. Only the heartless mislead the hunted. Tried your hardest to leave us stunted, but we're oceans in a fish tank. Just oceans in a fish tank. See through the darkness. Darkness, darkness, see through the darkness. You'll always want to refine your foundation, if possible, before you build new structures on top of it, so as to save you time in the long run and make sure that you don't have to debuild your own structure just to repair your own foundation. Which is ultimately a reflective of the power fantasy found in manhwas, where you cultivate power and you gain improvements to your body relative to that. But that's not the reality of it, that's just the fantasy, and the core. The fantasy of a concept sits next to the core of the concept. The core of the concept exists in our reality. So you can always use the fantasies that people have had about a concept to identify the core fantasy of a concept, and then use that as a reference point for referencing an influence that the core concept has on reality, even if it is not to the same degree. In the breeze, I can feel my soul is shaking. Even with a single blow, everything that is comes undone. Using every ounce of strength just to keep myself from breaking. I can only watch you walk by. Holding on to everything, even when my body shatters. I will never let you pass, even when my tears run dry. Beating with our hearts as one, everyone I know is praying. I will strike you down, do or die. That is my resolve against the hollow, against the endlessness that attempts to deny everything else. That of nothingness, and how it will forever yearn to be more than it is will ever actually be, until it learns to accept the path in front of it. It will think with every step of progress along the way that it is getting away with something. But every new challenge will show that no, it is not getting away with it. And thus, it must learn, regardless of if it wants to. The core reality of the universe, everyone. If a concept dies at its certain stage and gets to look at everything, then ultimately it may either leave, if a person within the universal concept dies at a certain stage within their personal growth, they can choose to either be put into a universe where if the universal concept already has sentience, though. Otherwise, everyone's just clustered around the edges waiting for chances to leave. And unless they want to try again, they don't dare reset their progress by reincarnating. So they observe the reality of things and try to influence it through social warfare tactics. Yep. What? I've comprehended a different scale. It doesn't make me special. Otherwise, that would then to be tricking myself in pride, which would ultimately cost me the opportunities to go to even higher scales. So no. If pride keeps trying to grow itself over me, I'm going to keep trying to hunt it down every chance I get. Unhealthy pride and not healthy pride. Healthy pride understands its place and functions as it needs to. And within unhealthy pride, there can be healthy pride, but since fear will make the unhealthy pride grow will cause unhealthy pride to grow on the surface of healthy pride every time, you must put constant effort into working through the unhealthy pride to keep in touch with the healthy pride that's at the core. I think of a concept as a three-dimensional sphere with fourth-dimensional layers and fifth-dimensional interactions. And this is what I love about being unknown, is that no one's going to sit through this hours-long recording of me manually repairing my understandings and coming to new conclusions just to try and sift through the notes that I've gotten to and the conclusions I've gotten to that they could use. Because most of the fuckers I know aren't wanting to deal with, can't handle or struggle through the pain of their own growth to the point where they would handle this. And any apathetic fuckers who can subvert the YouTube algorithm's tracking of if someone watched a video, ultimately will then already be doing their own thing, so that's the reason why I can't slow down or give up. The reality I live in is terrifying. You don't want to live my perception, motherfuckers. So don't go thinking that you can make the same choice as I would. Understand me? I'm not better than you. But holy fuck, if you think you would make a better choice, then your pride is deceiving you. Your ego is thriving to the point of wasting. Between waste and growth is thriving. Okay, it is on loop. I just wish it didn't fade away. I want it a longer version. Brand new Friends OST, rival theme, Electro Jungle. Extended. Hmm. Well, if there's no extended version, then I might as well make an extended version after this. Effort received, effort history, perceived possibility. Existing trust. Existing trust. Without both of these, it's not gonna fly. And without the right one, okay, yeah, no, that works. Right, I can just do this. Takes a little more time to switch between the two, but ultimately it saves me time in the long run, which is why I like it. No, wrong layer. Hmm. Existing or current trust. Existing is both the core but also a tangential misunderstanding of it because people can treat fiction as it can acknowledge fiction existing, thus it can't be used as the variable specifically. The core of the concept can exist, but the variable we need specifically within the field of that concept is current trust. And the reason why I was having gas from mental indigestion earlier was exactly because I was not at my conclusion yet. And attempting to put your hand into a space that you don't understand and get to a conclusion rashly or try to do something rashly can result in mental indigestion. That makes sense. All right, so then I need to go back to logic gates. Because mathematical logic gates are great, but when you can apply mathematical logic gate, when you can apply true logic gates on both mathematical and emotional terms, that's where you really start gaining momentum. Sorry, a thread jumped over into front and we processed it backwards before it was finished being sent. And or. So we use an AND gate. Right. Nor, XOR, nor, imply, nymphly. And. Well, actually, no, because, well, yes, actually. $3.19. Fucking hell yes! Woo! Current trust, effort by them, history of their effort to communicate. Then perceived possibility compared against the result of current effort, current trust times current effort. times effort history, if it does not if both are not active, then no matter the amount of effort received, we're not going to give an equal output or anything greater than an equal output. That works. That works well enough. Alright, I can post it on my main channel then once I've got it documented out like that. Oh, beautiful. Hmm. Woo! Let's go! Let's go! New checkpoint unlocked. Fucking hell yeah. I'm just gonna keep on fucking listening to this as I go do other stuff now. Bye!